The importance of raising productivity is an issue which the government has been pushing for a number of years. And in this series of videos, I'll be talking to a number of business leaders about how they're approaching the issue.
Going from the previous way of doing things to this prefabricated model, I would imagine it takes some capital outlay, you've got to change the way you operate, staff have got to be trained. How did you come to the conclusion that the capital outlay involved in changing processes fundamentally would actually be worth it?
Anything new involves risk. I think for every project, for every innovation that we produce, we do a lot of risk assessment. We gather the consultants together to study ways to automate. And it is not impossible because it's been done overseas. What you need to do is to tailor it to the Singapore context, to our industry context. I think someone has to take the lead somewhere. So I'm glad that CDL has been successful in automating the construction using ways of doing in the factory instead of at the site.
That sounds like a very interesting and innovative way of doing things. You're effectively taking the building blocks for a project and dropping them in and fitting them all together, as you said, like Lego. But to reach that point where you're embracing that way of doing things rather than building on site, there must have been some process that the company went through. How did you kind of reach out? Who did you look at? What were the other companies that you looked at to decide this was something that city developments actually wanted to get involved in?
You look at the developed countries like Japan, Australia, prefabrication or rather Lego style construction is not uncommon. So Singapore, because of the industry's continued reliance on cheap foreign labor, the mindset has not been changed. So as a leading developer, CDL was determined to make this paradigm shift.
Innovation, I believe, is the raison d'etre of any enterprise. If a company stops innovating, it basically stops living actually. With competition and with the advent of cyberspace, information flow has been very fast, speed of information. And therefore, for any enterprise to survive, first, I think it has to be able to compete very quickly, adapt. And the one sure way of doing this would be through innovation. No idea is ever a bad idea. An idea is always good. It's how we develop this particular idea and make it applicable. What we do in our organization is we encourage a lot of our staff to think outrageous, to be outrageous, to be dare to be outrageous. Challenge yourself, challenge the organization even as well, challenge the status quo, and that will be one way and sure way to survive.
Okay, Bernard, let's see if you're the Neil Armstrong of the optical industry, because on the face of it, selling spectacles isn't an industry that is perhaps rich in opportunities for innovation. You open a shop, you put some spectacles on display, and hopefully customers come in and buy those spectacles. So where are the opportunities for innovation for a business like yours?
Retail, yes, as you described, David, is seen as a very traditional business. You open up a store, you put in the products, you put in the serving staff, you wait for people to come in. But I think as time progresses, there are now, especially with the internet, the digital space, there are a lot of ways for people to do their shopping. And in the Singapore context, we have also seen many new malls coming up. A recent example would be in Jurong, where you have two big malls, Gem and Westgate. I think end of this year you're getting another one. Nearby there's also JQ. So it's getting very competitive. And in every mall you would see at least 4 to 5 optical stores. And the question which we begin to think about is how can we make ourselves different? Because if you don't do that, then you become a Me Too store. The only difference between your store and the store next to you is the name and maybe the color of your shop decoration.
Bearing in mind, I mean, you kind of touched on this, bearing in mind that most processes are already well established, the staff know what they're doing, it's a tried and tested method. When the time comes to make changes to those processes, how easy is it to do so, bearing in mind that you've already got an existing way of doing things?
It's never difficult to change. It's never difficult to change. This is when the leadership of any organization comes into play. How would you approach? What is the culture of the company? What does the company stands for? What is its brand strategy? So all these broad ideas has to cascade down to what change eventually you're going to bring. So your change agent is equally as important also. It is never difficult in today's context, managing people and human resource. Three things always comes to my mind immediately. Processes, three important things. Processes, technology, and people. These are the three main pivots. So processes is definitely one of the most important part of any organization.
So your company has looked at improving processes as a way of improving productivity. How did you go about deciding that processes was a key tool which could be used to raise productivity?
We try to make it very simple, and we document it every process. Meaning every step we do it, we document it. Now one of the reasons that why we want to do is, those old days when we have this system of mentorship, when one apprentice will follow the other mentor, and somehow or other along the way there's an important process. The apprentice will be called to buy coffee. When he comes back, the process is finished. So this is something that we don't want it to happen. So we document every station. Meaning that the older worker will have to literally write down everything that he has done and the whole process to able to pass down to the next worker. By documentation we make it very clear and transparent to the next one who take over. One of the good benefits that we explain to the worker is that somehow or other, if you are the only one that can do this process, if you want to apply for a 2 weeks vacation to any place with the family, we cannot approve it because you are the only one that knows the whole process. Now by passing the process documentation down, we can actually allow you to have a long vacation leave. You can actually go back earlier. You don't have to, if you are tired, you don't have to come by. So this is something that we explain to the employee, and they buy in the ideas.
The productivity goes up, the revenue goes up, we can pay each individual much better.
And to what extent has this become a key issue, say in the last year or so, where the workforce has become ever tighter, companies are struggling to get enough new employees on board, it's a very competitive recruitment environment. Has this issue become even more urgent in the last year or so, would you say?
It will get more and more urgent in years to come because of the quota restrictions from MOM. We are getting less foreigners coming in. Our trade is very labor intensive in terms of the service and repairs, even to the installation part. On the part itself, we are also trying to attract a certain portion of the dispatch riders or McDonald's delivery guys, to come on board, locals, giving them a better image with the bike, training them with the skills. If they have the skills, they definitely will get paid better than compared to delivering letters or packages.
As staff have been able to take on more tasks and different tasks, they're happier, they're more engaged with the business, and therefore they're more productive. Is that the case with your business, Bernard?
That is the ideal situation in our business, of course. But the key we always face is getting the employees to buy, because sometimes some of them have that mindset that it means more work for them. So instead of making them happy, it makes them feel as if the company is trying to load them with more work. So we are usually very careful with the way the message is delivered. We go on a slow, softer approach, doing step by step, bringing them in for meetings, having the managers talk to them as well, trying to show them the big picture of why it's important for them to learn more skills, the benefits of it, how it could create a better future for them as well. So it's not an easy task, but it's something that in our organization we are also trying to do.
But hardware could not bring you, it can give you some automation, translate the process and become less reliant on worker. But the benefits of the productivity had not actually sink in. The second part of it, or second phase, was possibly the mindware. I think the mindware of we start to see a lot more companies sending their workers for training. And I think in here we saw, in terms of the productivity innovation credits, one of the most spent item was training. A lot of people send them for WSQ training, all sorts of in-house training. That is good. That entrench a methodology, a certain tools analysis so that workers know how to actually identify areas for improvement. I think that's where now is the last mile with you. It's probably the hardware. How do we instill this so that every single workers understand that they play a part in this?